Hi, I am Kathy Henry. I am a licensed clinical social worker in the Indianapolis area, and I work for Healing Hearts of Indy. I'd like to talk today about how to stop abandoning yourself. One of the things we talk about a great deal in counseling, especially after people have been in for a while and they're out of crisis mode, is how to recognize when they are abandoning themselves and how to stop. I did an article once about the loneliest form of abandonment, and essentially what I was talking about is how when we have abandonment, we spend a lot of our time howling at other people, everyone else around us, to stop abandoning us. But in reality, we are really abandoning ourselves more than the people around us. When we finally realize that we are doing it and we learn how to stop, then we learn how to get our needs met in a healthy, non-dependent way, and we really start to feel a lot of peace in our lives then. We feel less desperate, we feel less hopeless, and we finally feel like we have some control over ourselves and our lives when we stop abandoning ourselves. So what are some ways that people abandon themselves? One is to constantly put others before yourself, to put their needs above your own, and then we become resentful and angry because our needs aren't getting met. We let other people's opinions matter more than our own opinion. Sometimes we will lose ourselves because we've abdicated our own independent thoughts in order to get someone else to like us. So we don't even really have our own opinion anymore. A good test of this is if someone says, "Where do you want to go for dinner?" If you can't even think of a place, you've for so long given that decision making or that opinion over to everybody else around you, and you've forgotten what you even like, and that is abandoning yourself. Another way is that we shame ourselves. We tell ourselves that we are unworthy, unattractive, unlovable, stupid, or otherwise not good enough. Another way is that we stay in unhealthy relationships because it's better than being alone. Another way is to allow other people to abuse us. One way that we abandon ourselves is that we trust people who have proven that they are not trustworthy, or we keep going back to someone who keeps abandoning us. Another way is we do what others think that we should do without even questioning it. One way, one of the more severe ways that we abandon ourselves is when we abuse ourselves, like with anorexia or bulimia or cutting or suicidal thoughts, hateful shaming messages. Sometimes people even physically hit themselves. And the list just goes on and about ways that we can abandon ourselves. And like I said, when we're doing it in the moment, that's the only way we know how, the only thing we know how to do. But what we've got to learn how to do is realize that we are abandoning ourselves in that. While we're screaming at someone else to stop abandoning us, we in fact are doing the very same thing. We don't have control over whether they abandon us or not, but we do have control over whether we abandon ourselves or not. So how do we stop abandoning ourselves? The quick answer, the easy answer, new agey answer, is to learn how to love yourself. And that's might be the right answer, but it is about as elusive as trying to grab a hold of a cloud. So you have to learn how to see the good side of yourself alongside of the bad side of you. The bad side is going to exist. We all have it. Everyone does. But we all also have some good qualities. And learning how to love yourself is being able to recognize and bring attention to those good qualities in yourself when all you can see is the bad. I just wrote an article about using the word "but" to minimize the impact of our shame voices. And I think I called it the one word that changed my shame. So our shame voice may say, "I went off my diet today and ate badly," which is horrible. And then you use the word "but," you insert that word, and this is where you have to think of something positive to say about yourself. Like, "I went off my diet today and ate badly, but I still ate better than I did last week." Or a shame voice might say, "I didn't walk or run or exercise today, but I still worked out twice this week, which is more than I worked out all of last month." The shame voice might say, "I didn't get the promotion, but I did have courage going to, applying for the job, and going to the interview and going through that process was still a good practice for me and will help me in the next interview. Our shame voice might say, I got reactive with my kids today, but I was aware of it while I was doing it, which is an improvement, and I was able to apologize to my kids afterwards, which is something maybe you couldn't do before. So to stop abandoning ourselves, we have got to keep, and I emphasis there, keep, and do it over and over again, keep reminding ourselves that we are essentially good at our core, that we mean well, that we're not trying to hurt anybody, and that we are not responsible for other people's emotions or reactions or behaviors, and we're only responsible for our own. To stop abandoning ourselves, we have to learn how to not see ourselves at one extreme or the other. We have to realize that there is a balance of good and bad in all of us, and keep drawing attention to both. Granted, sometimes the scale is going to tip a little one way or the other, but none of us are either all good or all bad. We learn how to give ourselves grace for the condition of being human. So look at it this way. What if you had an inner best friend? Someone who would lift you up when you are down. Someone who would tell you that you're being too hard on yourself when the shaming voices are overwhelming in your head. Someone that would remind you that you have some good qualities too. An inner best friend is somebody who would laugh with you when you make a mistake instead of shaming you for it. An inner best friend is someone who would hold your hand and be tender towards you when you are hurting, not beat you up for getting into that situation in the first place. An inner best friend is someone who would remind you of the things that you have accomplished rather than just listing out all of the things that you haven't. An inner best friend would keep you company when you were lonely. They would know how to entertain you, and they would know exactly what to do when you felt restless or bored. Imagine what that would be like, having someone constantly on your side. Someone constantly by your side, and someone who is constantly looking out for your best interest. I think a lot of the angst in our world comes from exactly that. We wait, we hope, and we expect, and we stay tied to this romantic notion that someone else is supposed to do this for us. We abandon ourselves while we are waiting for someone else, someone that we have absolutely no control over, to fill this role for us, instead of relying on the one person that we do have control over, and that is ourselves, to give us what it is that we need to be in tune with our needs and to be that inner best friend. I encourage you to try it just a little bit today, to give yourself the gift of an inner best friend and watch and see how your life change. Thank you very much for listening.